Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. First, our major stories. Families of two researchers recently killed in Douala in the Maritime Division, Fana region of Cameroon, continue to press for justice for the two university lecturers who were killed in the course of a research mission in that part of the country. They stormed the governor's office to demand for justice. And also we'll take you right here to the city of Douala, where at least 3 shops have been razed by wild flames at the Dogbasi market, the Douala 3 municipality. The cause of the fire is still unknown and authorities are currently investigating the incident. Those are top stories. Stay with us for greater details. Once more, thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television for presentation. I am Immaculate Fogwe. Begin right here in the city of Douala, where a devastating fire swept through the Dogbasi market in the Douala 3 municipality, ravaging at least 30 shops. Fortunately, no lives were lost, but the material damage is extensive. Traders are still trying to determine the exact cause of the fire, and local authorities have visited the market to assess the situation on the ground. Now, let's take a listen to an eyewitness of this fire incident in this excerpt.
One of the traders of the market called me around 6:30 in the morning, early. So I directly called the chairperson of the sapeur-pompier, and they say the fireman. So fortunately, they come quickly and with tact. They even cut the fire. The only loss we have here is goods. Trader lost greeting, lost their good there.
Now we talk something else. Who killed our children? Who killed our husbands? We need their bodies. We want justice. This is a cry of many families who have stormed the Fana governor's office on Monday, protesting against the brutal killing of their family members in Douala. It is a locality in the Maritime Division, Fana region of Cameroon. While on a research mission, these people were burnt to death by the local population. Malaglari captured this pathetic moment and now reports.
La justice pour tous.
It is the pain of a woman who lost her husband in the face of a government she trusts.
Tout ce que je réclame, c'est d'abord l'exhumation du corps.
All she's asking for is for the body of her husband and other victims to be exhumed and returned to them for burial. She adds that what happened was painful and condemns the mob justice inflicted on the victims. Nana Carol and other families are mourning the burning to death of their loved ones last week. Together with some sympathizers, they gathered outside the Fana governor's office, protesting and demanding the corpses of their family members. This is after the 3 researchers, Dr. Bello Bienvenu, Monsi Frederick and their guide Umaru Kabali were all burnt by suspected vigilante group members in Douala while they were on a research mission.
Nous, ce matin, nous sommes venus.
Justice is all they want, to pay homage to their children and for them to be buried properly.
Le 2 mars.
Je suis le père du docteur Bello Bienvenu.
He is the father to Dr. Bello Bienvenu. He says they were received by the Secretary General at the governor's office who assured them that everything is under control. He adds that all they want is for their late children to be honored, for they are not criminals.
Alors nous avons sollicité,
the family lawyer says they are not giving up until justice is done.
des chercheurs.
Meantime, the Minister of Scientific Research and Innovation in a communique condemns such brutal killings of unarmed researchers who were on a humanitarian mission. The minister also denounced the attitude of hatred that is eating deep into our society today.
On to something else, inhabitants of Dokbasi, that is in the Douala 3 subdivision, are still calling on the government to revive an abandoned construction project that was launched 5 years ago. The community is concerned about the poor state of roads in the area, which is primary route connecting other localities. Ase Luciliengu has more.
The poor state of roads in the Dokbasi neighborhood, Douala 3 subdivision, is an ordeal for road users. The people complain that a section of the road linking the Dokbasi runabout to Nyala Parizo has been in a deplorable state for the past 2 years. Whenever there is traffic at the east entrance of Douala, road users make use of this road as a primary road. The Minister of Public Works made a stop over here and observed the state of the road. He promised that it would be paved, but till date, nothing has been done.
Jusqu'à ce jour.
Meanwhile, the 9-kilometer stretch of road from the Dokbasi runabout to the entrance of Government Bilingual High School in Dokbasi remains unpaved after 5 years. Despite the launch of a project for the construction of this road, which was announced to last for 8 months since the year 2023, little or no progress has been made so far. Instead, the companies in charge of construction have abandoned the project long ago, leaving behind gutter channels meant to prevent flooding.
Il y a une entreprise qui a gagné le marché, vous avez vu?
There is a company that gains the contract for the construction of the road, reason why you see most roadside vendors have evacuated. The company had also installed its base not far from here, but no progress made so far.
Installé sa base non loin d'ici, a installé même des bus qui devaient être servis pour les rigoles, et le travail n'a jamais commencé. Jamais. Et ça fait 3 ans.
During the rainy season, the situation is very complicated as the road becomes muddy. This also adds to the financial burden of the residents who are obliged to accept the high transportation fare.
Ici, voilà les motos, non? Ils prennent 300, 400 pour arriver ici.
In the meantime, the population of Dokbasi is calling on the government for a solution.
Now we talk something else. The identification procedure of commercial bike riders in Douala and the littoral region of Cameroon has resumed. The operation, which had been halted due to disagreements between the City Council and the Commercial Motorcycle Trade Union, resumed on January 27th. Despite the restart, motorbike riders are still encountering challenges as they are facing challenges in the enrollment procedure. Seri Chakutio tells us more in this report.
After a few months of interruption, the enrollment of commercial bike riders has resumed. However, just like in the first round of enrollment, commercial motorcycle riders still face difficulties in the identification process. Additionally, they decry a number of irregularities in their sector, including the high cost of obtaining a driving license.
Manque d'accompagnement de l'autorité administrative dans le secteur des motos, c'est-à-dire en les assistant pour l'obtention des permis de conduire. Il y a beaucoup de non-membres qui ont la volonté de faire leur permis, mais ils ont les difficultés, les permis ne sortent pas.
In a bid to professionalize the motorcycle riders sector, a meeting with the presidents of syndicates and shareholders was organized here in Douala in the presence of local authorities.
Professionnaliser, c'est rendre un peu institutionnel.
According to the Douala City Council, the professionalization of the sector aimed to improve on the development of the city by addressing urban disorder caused by some bike riders.
Tous les papiers que demande cette profession, payer son impôt libératoire.
This operation also seeks to reduce the rate of aggression.
The project actually have 2 main components. One that secure a driving license, and another component that actually look at how to organize in a more, I would say, sustainable way this sector. The way this is going to work is that on this first component with regarding to the driving license, we're providing a subsidy that would enable to lower the cost of the driving license and make it accessible to drivers.
The different motorcycle riders present are waiting for concrete solutions that will allow them to walk with ease.
The governor of Biak has announced that new and larger denomination coins, including a 200 francs coin, will be introduced into the economy starting April 2025. This move aims to alleviate the coin shortage that has been plaguing the region, largely due to foreign exportation to Asia. The governor of Biak has emphasized the importance of accepting these new coins. Innocent Aze tells us more.
Coins shortage has been a major economic issue faced by the population of Cameroon and citizens of other countries of the CEMAC sub-region. This has impeded their day-to-day transactions and inconveniencing citizens. With plans to inject new coins in the economy of the 6 member countries early April this year, citizens expressed a sigh of relief. The primary measure of this action by the Bank of Central African States, BIAC, aims at fighting exportation of coins to Asia, which has been at the origin of shortage of this legal tender in the economy. The materials used to design these coins will guarantee their security, notably against exportation, like the case with the old metal coins desired for jewelry making in foreign countries like in Asia. The new coins to be made from materials that are less attractive for jewelry making and exportation will feature a gram of 200 francs to be injected in the economy, as well as an increased size of 1 franc, 2, 5, 10 and 25 francs, rebuked by the population of the sub-region. The new coins are intended to improve the liquidity of the CEMAC's financial system, promote financial inclusion by increasing access to transactions, particularly in the transport sector. We expect that the new coins will be accepted by the population. The 200 francs coin will greatly help in transactions. While BIAC introduces the new coins, it has opted not to demonetize the old ones. The existing coins ranging from 25 francs to 500 francs will continue to hold legal tender status. This in a bid to ensure a smooth transaction and avoid disruption in daily commerce. These old coins have to be accepted by the population in their daily transactions. From the month of April, the population of the 6 CEMAC member countries will carry on their activities smoothly.
And now we talk religion. Catholic bishops of the Douala ecclesiastical province have enjoined Christians to pray fervently and honestly share with one another the little they have during this Lenten season and equally beyond. This was during their first annual plenary session taking place in the Diocese of Ezeka. The bishops as well prayed for the quick recovery of the Holy Father, Pope Francis. Annabella Leke has more.
The Catholic bishops of the 6 dioceses which make up the Douala ecclesiastical province meeting in Ezeka are discussing on some obstacles to Christian evangelization, spreading the good news of Jesus, and also seek ways out of some ills of the society, such as youth unemployment and violence.
La mission de l'Église est unique. Proclamer l'Évangile.
According to the bishops, the greatest commandment, which is love for one another, should be applied at all times, especially during these challenging moments marred by tribalism and hate.
Les Camerounais s'aiment. Je suis à Douala. Le tribalisme.
His Grace Samuel Kleda, who doubles as the president of CEPED, thinks hate speech is only propagated by a handful and must not be accepted by our communities.
Non, il y a quelques rares cas. On ne peut pas nier, mais il ne faudrait pas dire que le problème de l'homme camerounais, c'est ça.
The fight against poverty and the difficulties faced by the young people in Cameroon were also preoccupying to heads of Catholic dioceses of the Douala ecclesiastical province, CEPED. His Lordship Abraham Kome of Bafang enjoins Christians to be true to themselves, pray fervently, and share in love, especially during this Lenten season.
Le Notre Père, c'est la prière par excellence.
On a toujours quelque chose à donner, même
The bishop will also be discussing on the formation and retreats of priests, Christian evangelization, the role of the ecclesiastical tribunal, and also pray for the health of ailing Pope Francis.
And now to sports. Will the Confederation of African Football, CAF, take into consideration the decision from the Court of Arbitration for Sports asking them to reinstate Samuel Eto'o as one of the candidates for the Executive Committee of CAF? Answers to this preoccupation is much awaited as CAF's elective General Assembly holds this Wednesday with just the incumbent Dr. Patrice Motsepe vying for the position. In the full report, Smart Jikangero says elections coming up this Wednesday does not have any stakes. His report.
Egyptian capital Cairo will be the venue for the 14th CAF Extraordinary General Assembly meeting, which will also see the election of a new president to head the activities of the football governing house in Africa. The General Assembly meeting held for this Wednesday doesn't have stakes as at press time, just South Africa's Dr. Patrice Motsepe is the lone candidate to the position he is currently occupying. The Extraordinary General Assembly meeting of CAF will also have on its agenda the elections of members of the CAF's Executive Committee Bureau. Before now, the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Eto'o, who was not eligible for the position due to a decision of the Disciplinary and Ethics Committee of CAF, saw that decision overruled by the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS, which ordered CAF to reinstate Samuel Eto'o's candidature and further asked CAF to reimburse 8,000 Swiss francs to Samuel Eto'o and the FA. Ahead of the 14th CAF Extraordinary General Assembly meeting, Dr. Patrice Motsepe has been holding a series of meetings. One was with zonal unions and CAF members association presidents in Cairo. Amongst the participants was Samuel Eto'o, who represented UNIFAC, COSAFA, SECAFA, WAFU A, WAFU B, and UNAF. This Tuesday, Dr. Patrice Motsepe held an executive committee meeting that discussed, amongst other things, the CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, CAF Women's Champions League final, and the African Club Association.
Smart Jikangero ending this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Once more, thank you so much for staying with us on Talking Point. My guest tonight is a lecturer based right here in the city of Douala. His name is Dr. Ako John Ako, and we'll be discussing on the recent incident that occurred in Suledirua, where 3 persons were burnt alive. Good evening, Doctor. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Good evening and welcome to Equinoxe Television. Again, talking on a pertinent issue. The loss of life in the Northwest Sule becomes neck-breaking and at times embarrassing in a state that's said to be a state of law, which up to now doubts still loom to what exactly led to the killing of this researcher. It is a pleasure always discussing such issues on Equinoxe Television. Thank you for being here.
Dr. Ako, what was your state of mind after watching the video of a team of researchers burnt alive in Suledirua in the far north region of Cameroon?
In reality, watching such a video was embarrassing, but then this really came to remind me of the killing of a woman and its 3 children in the same northern regions of Cameroon at the beginning of the same Boko Haram crisis. I can imagine at that time the Minister of Communication, Issa Chiruma Bakari, denounced that it wasn't a video from Cameroon and that the incident took place in a foreign land. It is just few years or few months after we are equally receiving such shocking information that people who are on a research trip and those who think that information is stronger, and that is what has been the basis of every nation, how can they be gathered by a whole village, stoned and killed with sticks to an extent that today others are even thinking that it was not an act of the villagers, but one which might have been perpetrated or manipulated. To this extent, watching such a video equally gives an indication that the state authorities and the government of that particular region is not really serious, or they are not there to govern. Maybe they are doing so for their own particular interests. How does this save life in Cameroon when Cameroonians are killed in many doubtful situations of this nature?
Now, just to make this clarification, the former government spokesman Issa Chiruma Bakari at the time rather said he debunked information that was circulating on social media that the 2 women that were killed and their children that was carried out by the Cameroonian military. He thinks that was a video that was aimed to destroy the country's reputation. But now, coming to what you just said, how can we explain the horrific phenomenon of villagers picking up individuals, bundling them, and also burning them alive in a country where we have a functional legal system?
Yeah, one of the things many have been doubting and asking questions is whether Cameroon really has a functional judicial system, a legal system that is for all, as called by the Constitution. In fact, the Constitution of Cameroon said justice has been rendered in the name of the people of Cameroon. But this has not always been the case. For in Cameroon, we continue to twist the law, and that the law in Cameroon knows authority. The law in Cameroon knows those who are governing and knows the lesser or whatever or less privileged Cameroonians. When it concerns the less privileged Cameroonians, we will see the judicial system acting in and coming in powerfully. What has happened now, after this incident, in many other advanced regimes and democracy, we expect that what they call the Parquet General or the legal department should even initiate inquiry or verification or investigation without necessarily thinking or waiting for somebody to act on their behalf. But today, with what concerns Cameroon, we will be thinking that the legal department is waiting that there should be an information coming from the superior being of the executive, and which gives us an impression that the independence in Cameroon of the judiciary is very doubtful. At again, a time when Cameroonians are preparing for legislative or presidential elections, and we are thinking that such a legal department or judiciary will be there to act on post-electoral conflict. Will this particular system not still fail Cameroonians if we can't answer the death or when lives are being threatened? What is the problem with the judicial system in Cameroon? We know, and it is all accepted and proven, that in reality, absolute power corrupts absolutely. The executive still remains at the manipulation of the judiciary in Cameroon. So for such any investigation we carry out, the legislative organ of Cameroon has become very weak and will always take instruction from the executive organ.
Doctor, many are questioning government's sudden silence on the matter. No official communique has been written to even extend condolences to the bereaved families. Do you perceive this as some sort of complicity or simply a delay in response?
Thank you for this pertinent issue, and that really many, when it came to these facts, have been asking why the government has been so moody or so silent and unable to give clarification. And others are thinking that the silence of the government indicated that the information on research or what the researchers were trying to collect, the data was necessary and might implicate a host of others. And that many are equally thinking that the government was not really willing to have such information public or have such data collected and even made rendered to some people. And that such information on research might implicate the government itself. But then, to what extent is such complicity made? We can't ascertain it until others may do finding. But in what circumstances will such findings be carried out? In what circumstances will such investigation and studies reveal the true nature and the reason behind which such people were killed when the government has gone moody or silent all this while? There have been no statement, official statement from the State Department. And what does it prove to us? That if it was a member of the SDF or the MRC or whatever opposition in Cameroon was tortured or maybe had the intention of appearing publicly to denounce an act, he might have been arrested, and you'll find the Minister of Communication coming in to give us lessons. But what lessons are they giving when lives are concerned and the same propaganda agents of the states go silent or moody? They are unable to say anything, and Cameroonians are simply now leaning on hearsay What happened? Are they researchers? Are they not researchers? It is still doubtful. There is always this belief in Cameroon, even that when investigations are ordered, they always end up generating no impact. Several of those who thought of the incident in Gabu saw the same with what the Boko Haram victim of the woman and his 3 children, and again we are talking of the Wazizi case. Years after, no response, no probable decision from the state. Are we really governed? Cameroonians will continue to ask.
You're a lecturer based right here in the city of Douala, and it's quite normal. Field research is a crucial aspect of academic work. Does this incident deter research activities, particularly in high-risk areas?
Research on some particular issues and areas at times need to be conscious, and investigating or even reporting to you people who are journalists, especially those of Equinoxe television. You can remember the incident that occurs in the south when Equinoxe journalists move in that zone to cover an event on whatsoever the banana cacophony. It always turns out that those on investigation need to be careful with their own life. This is exactly what has happened with the researchers, and that incident or such incident will always create fear and phobia in the mind of researchers. To what extent are you going to research? On what data are you collecting? Even when legal documents and papers are presented, how does this save such researchers and even future ones that had intention of reporting or even collecting data on sensitive issues about the state? And you know, the state of issues always indicate that we should be very careful first with our lives. For there is nothing which is more than life. When we have life, we can have everything, but without life, nothing can proceed. So all researchers should equally be conscious when they go to risky zones, especially like what we are talking here. So when we talk of the incident in the north, somebody will be doubting, is it manipulated by the state? Is it manipulated by Boko Haram members? Or it was really a gruesome act from the villagers? Can the government do something? Can those who are responsible for this act equally be held responsible, and so that become accountable to what they have done? The days ahead might be really looming, and we might be expecting that the state of Cameroon, why not, take responsibility. We have the video, and which means in such a village, it is easy to indicate those who are responsible and those who have acted for such an heinous act. Can we all together condemn such act, and that education and knowledge is free, and not again less when people are accredited with all documentation in field to research?
Now let's take this last question. How do you think the government of Cameroon can mitigate the rising cases of jungle justice that is taking place in our country today? And what role should local authorities play in maintaining law and order?
This is always the area when many Cameroonians have been thinking that we always take the laws into our hands. Talking about persuasion of jungle justice or popular justice is a regular situation in Cameroon. It is not even. You can imagine what happened with a lot of criminals in the town of Douala and many other quarters around Cameroon. It's back equally in Yaoundé and some places that are recurrent. When a criminal is caught by the villagers or those who live around, there is always a need for them to hand them to justice so that the law can follow its course. But many Cameroonians always believe that the justice system in Cameroon is one which is corrupt, and so they will always ascertain to pass judgment by themselves. And so these young men, whom we know as researchers, were equally camouflaged as Boko Haram agents, and everybody believes their opinion, and we can imagine how they ended up their life. The government has the mandate to end such killings, and in honesty, it is possible for the government to do it. But what if such act perpetrated convenience the government at the time when government is thinking that some information is not supposed to be public? On what data were they collecting? On what aspect were they trying to investigate? If you affect the interest of the state, in fact, he who pays the piper calls the tune. And so we might see in the days ahead that whatever investigation that might be set up, it might yield no results, and as such might not deter future actions of such villagers or such quartermen. It is but known Cameroon is a member of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Freedom, and the right to justice is a basic right. Everybody should have the right to equal and fair justice. Even when you have killed, you have a right to such claims, and you have a right to a legal counsel. That is the right in Cameroon. That is the right we should have.
Thank you so much, Dr. John Ako, for accepting my invitation to Talking Point tonight.
More for being here, and every time I will continue to be with you to discuss issues affecting the life of the nation. Wish you all the best, and all to the audience of Equinoxe Television.
And that's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Coming up next in some few minutes, the program Equinoxe will search Alain Odu and his guests. From us to you over there, have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye for now.